welcome to Morning Brew.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Lake.
And I'm Kiki.
And we're going to continue our Crazy Neighbor series. I guess it's a series because we've had so many.
Right. So when we left off, we were about to tell everybody why they were calling our house the FBI house.
Oh, yeah.
In
North
Carolina. And I believe that I stopped with saying about how my neighbor who was shifty across the street asked me what my husband did because my husband didn't live with us full time in North Carolina. He was commuting back and forth. And I said he worked for the government. Mm-hmm. And then they labeled our house the FBI house because completely coincidence.
Yeah.
It was complete coincidence that my husband would come and visit, and then within weeks following the visit, there would be some kind of bust on our street.
Yep.
And the only thing that went in sync was that my husband would come and visit, and then there would be a bust.
Yeah.
My husband would come and visit, and then there would be a bust.
Yep.
So it was insanity. But they left us alone because they thought my husband was the FBI. But we had characters there, okay? We had Toofy across the street.
Yeah.
Which his son was involved in one of the busts because what was he doing across the street?
Well, I don't remember. Well, he was in the shed.
And what was he doing in the shed?
Cooking meth.
Yes. There was a methadone clinic directly across the street
in the
from
shed.
us. So he got busted for that. So on top of the turkeys, ducks, and chicks, they were cooking meth over there.
Yep.
Toofy wasn't, his son was. His son...
But you really think that Toofy didn't know?
That's not for me to...
Allegedly.
Yeah, that's not for me to say. Then we had, next to Toofy, one of Lakin's favorites, Cinnamon. Cinnamon.
Yep.
Cinnamon was her name.
Not a nickname.
No.
It was Cinnamon.
It was Cinnamon. Cinnamon had been arrested. Well, first we're like, who's this character?
Yeah.
Not a matching item, skipping down the road,
I was like,
singing,
should be in school.
Knocking randomly on people's doors. We didn't know what the heck was going on with Cinnamon.
Very odd.
Right. So Cinnamon ends up, the cops show up.
Yep.
She got arrested for burglary. She was burglarizing some businesses. And then prostitution.
Yep.
She was involved with prostitution. So these are our neighbors, okay? Mind you, the biggest millionaire from our town that donated all the money to the Gridiron Club and had the restaurant and the shrimp and boats. She lived right behind us. So this isn't like I said, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get. We got Cinnamon and Toofy.
No, and then, are you going to tell about the story with Cinnamon and Dad?
You want to tell the story with Cinnamon and Dad?
No.
Okay.
You tell. Because, there's the two things. Well,
because Cinnamon, my husband... Again, come and goes. He doesn't really know people.
Yep.
We stay away from Cinnamon. Okay? Yep. We stay away from these people.
We don't want anything to do with Cinnamon.
So, I was getting ready for Lakin's wedding, Lakin and Austin's wedding, and we were really doing the wedding ourselves. I had come back the day before from the liquor store. We had spent about $1,500 on liquor. The entire living room was filled with the boxes that we were going to need to bring to the reception hall. Lakin and I were out on errands. We come home. Who is on our front porch? Cinnamon.
I said, what is she doing over
here?
With
a guy.
Yeah. Oh,
so I came up. I was like, hey, what's going on? Well, we needed a cigarette. And your husband, he's a really nice guy. He gave us cigarettes. And I was like, okay.
Get off the porch. Go back home.
Don't stay and smoke it. So I walk in the house. I'm looking at Lakin like, oh my God.
What are we going to do?
The guy looks in. He goes, looks like you're all having a big party in there. I said, no, well, this is leaving the house. I made sure that I said that. This is leaving the house. It's going to a wedding. I didn't say where, whatever. I just said, oh, all right. Well, I said, well, listen, we got to get going on with our day. You guys are going to have to leave. So they leave. Go. My husband comes in. I'm like, what are you doing? This girl is a criminal. Who the heck knows who that guy is? Who does the guy end up being, Lincoln?
What was his first
Michael.
name? Oh, yeah. Michael Jaspers. This dude was caught down at the Food Lion shanking people.
Yeah, robbing women.
Robbing and shanking the ladies coming out of Food Lion with their groceries.
Yeah, he was on our porch bumming a smoke from Rob.
Yep.
So that happened there.
Neighbor.
Glory be to God. And then next door on this side, we have Cassie. Cassie is another one. Got arrested.
Yep.
Prostitution.
Light on, light off.
Yep. Light on. Business is open. Light off.
Business
not
closed.
so much. So one night they get in a huge fight. There was an argument going on. She's pregnant. Okay, she's pregnant.
Yep.
There's a party going on. I'm like, oh my gosh. And you got to watch what you say. Like, you don't want to go, like, normally my personality, I go, hey, like, turn that down. Like, people are trying to sleep, but
you don't know what's going on in any of these
cops are around a lot, you know?
Yep.
Plus, would the FBI really go out and say that? I don't know. I don't know how the FBI would act towards that. We would try to stay incognito, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I hear her boyfriend. They're in this huge fight. He goes, he's a great guy. Listen to what he says. I don't know why you're always on my back. I quit cocaine for you. What a guy.
Yep.
What a guy. Yep. He quit cocaine for her.
Yep.
And so that was going on
that way.
And
then she got that dog, remember? She always had tied it out on
and
the
the
front.
dog got hit by a car and it was laying out in the street, and then the other little dog was sitting on top of it.
And then who knows where the hell Cassie was?
Oh my gosh.
Who knew where she was because she didn't come, and then that's when Toofy, and we said, that's Cassie's dogs.
Yeah.
Where's Cassie? And
that was so sad. That was so sad.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
So all of that was going on. Then we had a guy that was walk up and down the street. I think I might have said hello or something when he was looking at me. I don't know.
Yeah, because who just goes at somebody?
He then, because of the hello, shows up, says to my son, hands my son a paper and says, don't read this, but please give this to your mother.
Okay.
Love note.
Yep. He's got a love note.
He's been admiring me. He knows everything that's going on about me.
Creepy.
He's going to go to upstate New York and work on an apple farm. He would love it if I would come along. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? What do I do with this? So, when I see him, I said, hey, thanks for the letter. But my husband, I have a husband.
Stay away.
And then he said, oh, the guy in the FBI.
I don't know how we got the FBI house.
So he's completely brazen because now he knows I'm married to the FBI and he's giving me a love letter and wants me to join him on an apple farm in upstate New York. Who does this happen to?
You.
Holy God. And then, if it all isn't enough, like, one of these things normally doesn't happen to people. Something else goes down. And we'll tell you about that in part 2 of Living in Sneeds Ferry, North Carolina.
Crazy Neighbor series. Okay.
We're back.
We're going to quickly finish up our Sneeds Ferry with the great story.
But how pathetic is it that we have to do several parts to describe our neighbors?
Just in one spot.
Like, some people go their whole life without having...
Is it just us, or does everyone experience this?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. So we went, we had Toofy, Cinnamon, Cassie,
Love Note,
my Love Note stalker, the busts that were going on throughout the neighborhood. So now we finally made it. It's 2016.
It's our
last year there. My son is going to be graduating. Mm-hmm. My son was a amazing wrestler. He was quite an athlete. And New Year's was coming. So I said to Christian, hey, if you'd like, you can have a non-alcoholic, drug make sure that the kids know.
Everyone's on the up and up.
Party for New Year's at the house. It's your last New Year's here with your friends, whatever. He's like, really, Mom? I said, yeah. I go, I don't know if that, would be a cool thing to say, because you don't know. Yeah. I'm a product of the 80s, like no keg, no cummy. So he does that, and the athletes, they all show up. The kids are out back. Yep. I have friends of mine there, we're inside, and all of a sudden, who came in the house?
Hagel comes in.
I think so, and was like, Mrs. Uhas, there's a guy out in the... I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, there's a guy out in the backyard with a 12-pack and his cat.
So then what we said to Dad, to Dad and Austin, you guys go take
but
a walk.
I walk.
We're involved.
So the guy's out there, and he literally had a 12-pack of natural, or no, maybe it was a St. Pauli girl or something, and his cat. So Austin, her husband, he was like, hey, dude, look, because he's then offering beer.
He's wanting
and the kids are like, yeah, no. And he's like, come on. So Austin was like, hey, just so you know, this is a teenager's party, 40-something-year-old.
Yeah, we're not drinking.
These are all athletes in the high school, there's not going to be any drinking
you gotta
involved.
Move along.
You're going to have to leave. And he says, oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean any harm. We're like, okay, that's fine. He didn't give us any problem. And then he picked up his 12-pack and he said, come on, kitty. And he walked back through the woods into the bushes,
and never
the cat followed him.
And never saw him again.
And that was that.
Oh, man. He goes, come on, kitty.
And that was that. So now we... fast forward, okay, it's coming to the end of the school year. My son has prom. Unfortunately, my son's prom was happening at the same time that I was required to be in California for my son-in-law's graduation from his sergeant's course, was it? Or recruiting duty.
Yep.
So I was going to California. It was my son's prom. He was like, don't worry. I had a friend of mine kind of take Christian under his wing because they were all going to prom together and whatnot. So that was going on. On our way home from California, I get a panicked phone call
from Christian,
from my son.
Yeah.
Mom, I don't know what to do.
Immediately, we're like, what is going on?
What's the matter, Christian? Yeah. Mom, I've never seen anything like it.
We're like, where are you? What is going on?
What's going on?
Are you in trouble?
He said, the DEA is on the street. He's like, there are cop cars, government cars, DEA, FBI, you name it, they're here. Weapons out, Mom. Bulletproof vests. I go, did they come to the house? He said, no, I'm hiding in the room. And I said, okay, well, if they come to the house, open the door, answer their questions, whatever. So my son, he's
on the ground.
Yeah, he's on his stomach, peeking out through the shades. Major bust. It was called Operation Spring Cleaning.
Yep.
26 arrests. They haul all of these people out.
Yep.
Okay. We come home, whatever. All of these, the neighborhood's cleaned out. No
one's around.
And then, guess what happened? A month later, my son graduated and we left the neighborhood. So if they didn't think we were the FBI before,
they sure did now.
They sure thought, their confirmation came correct when we left.
Yeah.
Operation Spring Cleaning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why they thought we were the FBI house.
Yeah, because there were people above. They were all in the yard. He was like, they were like all everywhere. Over. They were around our house. They were everywhere, but they were around our house. And Christian was like, they didn't come to us.
I think I did. I'm like, stay down. Of course I'm staying down.
I'm not leaving. I was like, oh my gosh, Christian.
Yeah. So that happened. Yeah. So then from there, we moved to Massachusetts. We lived up on a mountain, no trouble. But Austin's job needed us to be closer to his recruiting office. So we moved. I'm not going to say to what town. And when we moved by neighbors. We're going to address them as Rainey and Mac.
Rainey and Mac.
Some words to describe them might be intrusive.
Nosy.
Crazy ass.
Whack.
Nuts.
Insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
I have never in my life, I would take Cinnamon back in a heartbeat, than to live by a nosy neighbor. A neighbor that is so nosy that she was peeking in our windows when we were not home. Mm-hmm. Let me back up. When we first moved there, we were asked if we knew our neighbor, which we didn't because someone had already, when we moved our stuff in, caught her peeking into our basement windows and into our garage windows.
Yep.
And we know that it's true because she literally said, hey, I see you guys like to decorate. I saw all the decorations in your garage.
Yeah. And how do you know that if you weren't all the way over here on my property looking in the windows?
It was absolute insanity. She started off as nice neighbor, but I've never been that, like, let's do things together.
No. Stay away.
Yeah. We would come home. What would she do?
She'd literally run out of her house. Where'd you go? What'd you do? What'd you get?
Where'd you go? What'd you
do? Grocery shopping? What'd you do today?
Yep. She would, like, be looking at our groceries. Where did you get coffee?
What'd you get grocery shopping?
Yeah. I've never in my life returned home on a daily basis and had an interrogation.
Yeah, literally.
An interrogation.
She kicked that door open.
Her kids were constantly barefoot, running, screaming through the neighborhood.
They were never not screaming.
Nope, nonstop.
Always screaming.
One time she organized a 4th of July bike parade and invited the news to come for the whole 6 kids that participated. Yep. And then was on the news. And her husband was talking like he was in the military, which was completely offensive to us because her husband is in the military. She was absolutely horrible.
More than horrible.
She really was. And
I have no words to explain it because it was so bad.
No, she also...
It was so bad.
The Marines came to pick up Austin one time. She approached their vehicle. She was like, hell, you're into Wu-Tang Clan. I mean, she was so off base, so intrusive.
In your face.
So inappropriate that we literally had to move.
We had to move.
Because of her insanity.
And thank God we did. Because could you imagine COVID living there?
No.
Holy mother of God.
We would have had to take off, which we couldn't because it was COVID. I just never experienced anything. I mean, the kids chasing rabbits with bats through my backyard. Oh, and then her returning from a trip and having the hazmat people there. Supposedly there was fentanyl or something thrown on the end of her driveway, and her husband was walking.
In it or something.
And we're just trying to get out of our house to go to Disney World. Bad juju.
We're gonna have to talk about it next time.
But now we're in our new home, and our neighbors have been wonderful.
Yeah, no crazy neighbor here.
And that concludes our series. Peace.